Here are 10 common words that you hear and use all the time. Hi, my name is Jonathan Huggins and I'm an American English teacher, and in this video we're going to review how to pronounce the following 10 words. 1. You're probably familiar with the verb say, which has a long A sound. That's a diphthong, meaning there are two vowels. A. But the word I'm actually interested in is the he, she, it form of say, says. Says doesn't use a long A sound. Listen again. Say, says. They don't rhyme, which means that they use two different vowel sounds. Says uses a short E sound like in the color red. One more time. Say, says. Another common issue I hear when people say says is when they say ses instead of says. What's the difference? Well, the difference is between a unvoiced S, like the S in snake, or the voiced Z, like the buzzing of a bee, in says at the end. Now, to feel the difference and hear it, place your hand on your throat like this and produce Z, Z. You should feel a vibration in your throat. Those are your vocal cords vibrating. Say this with me. Says, says. Now, not making the final Z sound can create confusion in words like ice or eyes, or spice or spies. Say this with me again. Say, says. Or in an example sentence, she says that she likes to watch the boys. She says that she likes to watch The Voice. 2. Continuing with the verb say, let's review the past tense form. It's said, not said. Even though say has a long A vowel, said does not. Remember that we said that says uses a short E sound like the color red? Well, said also uses the same vowel and rhymes with red. That means that said and red use the same vowel sound. Say it with me. Said, said. For example, he said that he was sad. He said that he was sad. Another issue I hear when people say said is that they say set instead of said. What's the difference? Well, in languages like Russian or German, for example, there is a concept called final consonant devoicing. What's that? That's when people don't use vocal cord vibration at the end of a word. Many of my Russian-speaking students don't realize that they say words like goret with a T sound, even though it's written with a D. Or my German-speaking students say guten Tag with a K sound, even though it's written with a G. So final consonant devoicing works when speaking in those languages, but be careful if you use that when pronouncing final consonants in English. English retains final consonant voicing, so make sure to use a voiced D sound at the end of said instead of an unvoiced T, like in the word set. Say it with me. Said, said. For example, he said that he set it on the table. He said that he set it on the table. Next up, numbers 3 and 4. These two words are notorious for being frustrating because this relationship between spelling and sound can be very misleading. What are these two words, you may wonder? Woman and the plural women. Let's look at them one by one. The first vowel in woman is the same vowel that we find in good or book. The second vowel is ɪ. That's the short I vowel that we find in fish. Let's say it with me. Woman, woman. Now here comes the frustrating part when we try to say the plural women. Notice that the spelling seems to use the same vowel O, but the sound actually changes to ɪ. That's the short I vowel that we find again in fish or swim. Let's say that. Swim, whim. Swim, whim. And the second vowel in women seems to change from A to E. However, the sound actually remains the same. Min, min. So let's say those two words side by side. Woman, women. Woman, women. Now on to 5 and 6. These two words can also be a little misleading. In the spelling, we only notice the presence of an apostrophe, or a sky comma for any of you Gary Goldman fans. Now, why should an apostrophe make a difference in pronunciation? It doesn't make a difference in words like its and its, but for these two words, it does. What are these two words? Were, W-E-R-E, and we're, W-E apostrophe R-E. In American English, the sound in were can also be found in words like word, work, first, or her. Say it with me. Were, were. Now, when we add the apostrophe, we use the vowel sound that we hear in ear, or weird. Weir, weir. Now, we're mainly talking about pronunciation in this lesson, but here is a listening comprehension tip. When you hear we're, that is the present tense contraction of we are. In the past, you'll hear we were. Notice, we're in present, we were in past. We're in present, we were in past. Let's move on to 7 and 8. Again, we are dealing with apostrophes and contractions. These two words sound very similar and are often confused for each other in writing. Your and your. Your has two main pronunciations. In American English, your rhymes with or. This is considered the strong or emphatic pronunciation, as in, this is not your pen. This is not your pen. There is also a weak pronunciation, your, which rhymes with her, as in, your book is with her. Your book is with her. When we make the contraction of you are, spelled as Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, the pronunciation can vary in different regions. Personally, I say youer like newer or fewer. Some people can pronounce your like your, which means they can be considered homophones, which are words that sound the same but have a different spelling and meaning. The unstressed pronunciation of your can sound like the first syllable of Europe. I would recommend consulting an online dictionary with audiophile samples in order to continue working on your and your. Lastly, we have 9 and 10. Again, we have an apostrophe with a contraction versus possessive adjective. We also have two vowel sounds, long E versus short I, that I often teach in minimal pairs. He's H-E apostrophe S versus his, H-I-S. He's has a long E, which we find in C or 3. We also have a final voiced Z at the end of he's. Now you can go back to the first tip about says in order to review the difference between voiced Z versus unvoiced S. Practice with me. He's. For example, he's asleep. He's asleep. His, spelled H-I-S, is a possessive adjective, just like your. And just like your and your are confused in writing, so are he's and his. His uses a short I vowel, which we already saw in the word women, the 4th word on our list. Practice this with me. His. For example, this is his pen. This is his pen. So let's go through our list of 10 words once more. Number 1, says. 2, said. 3, woman. 4, women. 5, were. 6, we're. 7, your. 8, your. 9, he's. And 10, his. I hope you have found these pronunciation tips and explanations useful. Thank you for watching, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content.